Hello and welcome to the Stammerer. Today I have a very special guest. It's Natalie Eccles, who's absolutely fantastic, absolutely amazing interview, and I thank her so much today for being on this podcast. I kind of thought I was like the only person in like the whole entire world, so it's now good to open up and talk to people about their experiences, and that's the whole point of this, is basically to open it all up and just kind of talk to people about their experiences. So and hence that's why I've got the podcast is just to highlight and just to talk about it. So yeah, so is that okay? So what I'll do is if we just talk about it, so just feel free to be relaxed, just talk about whatever. So if I just sort of just open it up and just ask about you, and just tell me like story, from when you were, the first time you found out that you kind of had a stammer, and then kind of your history, and then if that's all right.
Sure.
Cool, okay.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, so I don't know when I first recognised I had a stammer. I do remember, I think I'm somewhat fortunate, if for a better sense of the word, because my older sister also has a stammer.
Oh wow, okay.
So for me, it wasn't that unknown. It wasn't weird. It's just like, oh, okay, well, if my sister speaks like this, then I guess, it's somewhat normal, although we didn't know anybody else at the time. But growing up, I have a stammer and I also have a lisp. So I was like, oh my gosh.
Oh, goodness me.
Double trouble, know. But I think the first time I was aware of it was actually, it was pointed out in a very negative way by my primary school teacher. So I remember quite vividly, actually, we was in the class, we were talking about animals, and I was trying to get a word out to describe the animal, and my primary school teacher said, oh, Natalie, just spit it out, and the whole class laughed.
Oh.
And then at that point I realised, oh wow, I do sound different.
And when they laughed at you at that point, did you really think anything of it, or?
Yeah, I did. I then at that point I felt that I was different. Even though my sister had a stammer, I felt like, she's always owned, not always, but maybe most recently she kind of owned it. Yeah. I felt like for me, I felt embarrassed. I was feel like I didn't sound quote unquote normal.
Yeah.
And I think growing up, I was kind of told, oh, do you know what? Don't worry, it's fine. You are still young. You are going to grow out of it. It's just teenage issues. People assume that I'm always nervous, and I'm not necessarily a nervous person. I'm very talkative.
I get that. I do. You know what? Right, I get that completely right, because, and that's the thing, I guess, that I can kind of, what's really just like hearing you speak is so similar to me in some respects, and the fact that you said that is that it's like we are not, it's not nerves, and it's just a really interesting thing, isn't it?
No, it really is. It got to a point where when I went for job interviews, I would say, and still do say, listen, and I try and make a joke out of it. I do say stuff to the effect of, oh, I do have a stammer, I'll try not to keep it here too long. But for me, it just helps just to break the ice.
And so when you interview, how do you feel people perceive you? So in terms of like interviews and that kind of stuff, over the years, what have your experiences been? Have you had some good examples and some bad examples? So how have your interview experience, I guess, so for people just to hear, because I guess there'll be people that will hear this and they'll be really scared to like interview, because they think, oh my god, I can't speak, and I'm really, really scared. From your perspective, how have you found interviews and people?
To be honest, it has been mixed. It's been mixed. I think, and I haven't been on that many interviews, but a few I have been on, the majority have been relatively well, and I think my stammer has been received well, or as well as can be. And I feel like people are quite patient, and they know that I'm going to take a while to think or to try to get the words out, not necessarily think about my answers. But on the kind of more negative side, and I know everybody with a stammer experiences, when you're talking, you're struggling to get the word out, people's faces change, and that is what makes me feel even more uncomfortable, and it makes my stammer worse, when you can kind of see their face cringing, like, oh, this is awkward, oh, I don't understand what you're trying to say.
And again, I absolutely sympathise, and again, yeah, I completely understand that, because I guess that when you see their faces, like you then think to yourself, oh, I need to then hurry up my speech, because all you want to do is just get out of there, right? You just feel like you want the world to swallow you up and just get out of there. And there's nothing worse than when you're feeling it in that place, because you just feel so low and you just want to get out of the situation, that you just, and then it just exacerbates it and makes the stammer worse, doesn't it?
Oh, honestly, like, it really does. I mean, I particularly don't think my stammer is that bad. And I hate to say the word that bad, but I feel like, I think it's because I've had a process of just learning just to accept it, and for it to be a part of who I am. I used to kind of see it as that, like that black dog on my shoulder, like, oh God, that's me, plus the stammer. But no, exactly who has a stammer.
When do you feel that is that as well? So as you said there, so just speaking to you now, you sound, I wouldn't be able to tell. Okay, so
okay, that's interesting. I still feel like I stammer a lot.
So I don't. So for me, and again, I go through bouts of I'm fluent. Sometimes I'm not. Sometimes I am. But again, it totally depends on the situation. Depends on if I'm tired, and it depends, right? So give me an example then. So when was the last time you felt like you had a really bad stammer?
When I think of a really bad one, it was probably... Okay, the one that stands out, and I'm going to go back a few years because I was actually quite emotional.
Okay.
When I had to do a presentation.
Okay, yeah.
I dread presentations.
Oh, me too. Me too.
No.
Me too.
I tried to make the presentation. I tried to prep, research. I did all my notes. I literally just reading from the notes.
Yeah.
What happened is I was doing a presentation for like heads of terms, and they was asking questions. They was like critiquing my presentation quite harshly.
Oh wow.
And I personally hadn't prepared for the critique.
Yeah.
And I fell apart. I just fell apart. I couldn't get any words out. They, it got to a point where they wasn't looking at me, they was looking down on the floor. And it was just horrendous. And I vowed to myself I will never do a presentation again.
And how do you feel then? So let me give you an example. So if I feel like I've had a really, really bad week, so and this has happened, like on and off for 30 odd years, where I would be able, so let's just say, a similar thing would like happen to me. It would probably take me a couple of weeks then to get back up again, because I kind of feel like if it happens, I get really, really low, and then I kind of find myself having to then fight again and again and again, and then come back. So how do you handle that? And then are you able to pick yourself up again? Are you able to come back? How do you feel when that happens?
Well, in terms of time, it did take a long while. And it did get to a point where I just didn't want to speak. Or I only spoke on things that I was very sure about. And I knew I'd be like relatively fluid in.
Yeah.
But I had to do a lot of, it sounds really deep, but I had to do a lot of digging, a lot of like soul searching.
I get it. I really get it.
Yeah, and I had to say to myself, Natalie, do not be embarrassed by this. And I also, I spoke to my sister a lot about it as well. And I don't know, it's almost like I just said, you know what, this is just one presentation and one of many that you probably do, you know, in my whole lifetime of working. So don't hang on all the fears that I faced during that one presentation, because things are going to get better.
That's amazing.
And it did.
That's amazing. That really is amazing. Can I ask, and if you don't mind, what is it that you do for work?
Yep, I work in housing, so ironically I'm a resident voice coordinator, so my role involves a lot of talking.
I work in IT, and I have to work with clients, so I have to do like speak to people, you know, talk to clients, and you know, for the longest time, like if you'd have asked me when I was like 7 or 8, okay, let's just say 10, when I really knew that, you know, like I had a really bad stammer, would I be able to talk to people, be able to stand there and talk to people? Now, when I'm in like a work mode, I find myself being able to sort of switch myself over to like the work mode, but what people don't understand is that what it's taken to get to that. So for example, if I know that I've got to speak to a client, I'll like practice, right? So I'll practice, so I know that I'm prepared, and when I'm relaxed and I'm chilled, you know, I'm able to talk and I'm fine. How do you deal with that? So are there still instances, like for example, in your day that you dread?
Yeah, absolutely. I think I definitely prefer talking over the phone than via Teams or Zoom, because when you're trying to get a word out, people can see brain in your, you know. So I find that really uncomfortable. I don't like having group conversations. I much prefer like, you know, one-to-one. So whether it's on the phone or virtually, or, you know, I definitely prefer one-to-one. And I do sometimes, you know, in terms of my coping mechanisms, I do sometimes just pause when I speak, or just say, which I know is very common with stammerers. And I don't like that, because it looks like we don't know what we're talking about.
Exactly, exactly.
But you know, we're just trying to buy time.
You know what? That's so funny, right? It's time, isn't it? Right? You buy time. So I had to go to the things that I still do now, right? It's really funny. So let's just say for instance, right? So I don't know if you experience like the same thing, but if somebody asks me my name, right, and when I've just met them, and it's not because I can say my name, right, but it's just when you get asked, right, or say you go in up to a reception, and then they ask your name, right, sometimes absolutely fun, but on those times I'm just like, my name's I'll like pretend to sneeze, or I'll pretend to do something to buy time.
Sorry, you don't want to sneeze now. I might try that one.
Right, so I'll just like pretend to sneeze, just anything to buy me some time.
Yes.
Right, and it's so funny that like you kind of mentioned that's all it is, right? Is that you're just trying to buy time, but you're trying to do it in a way that you don't want to stand out, you don't want to stick out, right? So you're trying to do it in a way that seems like a fluid way, when actually, why are we trying to hide? How do you think society portrays people with a stammer?
Oh, well, I would say, personally, lazy, a bit lazy. I think that might be because look, I'm not, you know, I may sound quite confident, but if you told me, have I told my employer, who I've worked for 5 years, I have a stammer? No, I haven't.
Same here. Yeah.
Oh, interesting. Okay, because people, like, I know, tell them, like, my sister's very, she does speeches, presentations. She's got, I think she's got a page on her LinkedIn about stammering. I might link you in with her.
Thank you.
But she's a proud stammerer. She will tell the world, my name's Sam and I have a stammer. But for me, I'm just like, I don't want people to know I'm vulnerable and show that vulnerable side.
I get that. I mean, and this is part. So this is why I think that you're amazing by agreeing to come on here and doing like a podcast, because I felt that way for a very long time, because I felt if I opened up and it's that thing, isn't it, where you expose, right, and you don't, because I hate feeling embarrassed, right, and it could be about anything. It doesn't have to be about a stammer, but I hate like, as it was, exposing and showing people like a side of me when I spent so long trying to portray a different, like, what do you think your biggest asset is, and kind of what skills have you got? Did you go to university? If not, what, have you got any hobbies, any interests? What kind of skills have you got? And just talk a little bit about you and the things, I guess, that you're proud of, really.
Sure. I mean, so in terms of my highest level of education is a degree, public health with psychology.
Amazing.
Thank you. And in terms of interest, I like reading. I really like speaking to people. I like to find out about different cultures and just have an understanding of various types of people. I like connecting people. I am very family orientated. I have been a blood donor for about 15 years now.
Wow, amazing.
So I'm half African, half West Indian.
Cool.
So I'm very proud of where I come from. I'm very proud to talk about my heritage. And of course, this month being Black History Month, really proud to share like my experience being a person of colour living in the UK.
Okay, and let me ask you on that point, because obviously we've met through a person who, because you're part of a female group, right? So you're part of a stammering group specifically aimed at females, right?
Yes.
Yeah. So, which is a really quite interesting point. So, I'm a dad, and I have 3 kids, and they are all girls. So I'm very much, pro supporting that aspect of it as well. So in terms of, I guess, the world, being black, having a stammer, a female as well. I mean, how does the kind of world, from your perspective, have you had to fight to, be kind of get to the position that you're in? What's your experience like?
Well, do you know what? To be honest, my experience has been, for the most part, positive.
Good. Okay. Good.
I cannot say. I mean, if I had to list it in order of challenges, a stammer probably would be very, very low down on the list.
Really?
So up there would be being a female, being a black female. I'm 41. And I don't have any children this year. So there's a whole lot of societal pressures and expectations around that. But having a stammer, I'd say. I mean, I think, because I'm not shy in talking to people, and I'm so grateful that I have that gift. I do think having a stammer, I have to pick my words quite carefully when I'm talking to people. So sometimes I'm very passionate. There's some words that I really want to use to help describe how I'm feeling. Yeah. But because I can't get those bloody words out, I start to think I'm really boring and easy words, and it just makes me look like I'm not articulate. I'm like, I am.
I know.
I just can't get the words out.
Okay, and to that end, then, do you think that people don't think you're as intelligent as you are, because you clearly are. You know, you're clearly smart. You know, in fact, I think that how you speak really, really well. And how do you think people see? Do you think people? And that's again, I guess that's a hang up that I have, is that there are lots of words that I could say but I can't say. And do you think people maybe overlook you because you have to tailor and tone back the things you can say, or you feel you have to because of society? And do you feel that way? Do you think people maybe don't give you the credit that you should get because sometimes you just can't get those words out?
I feel like people probably used to do that in my previous roles. This one not so much, and I think it's because, sorry, I haven't said this, alongside me having a stammer and a lisp, I've also got a vocal cord condition.
Oh, brilliant.
So, yeah,
oh, great.
Yeah, I bring it on, like
bring it on.
Everyone else.
Bring it on.
So sometimes it's not that I can't speak, but I actually can't speak because I can't produce any sound.
Oh my goodness.
Oh, great. So, oh gosh, so I think because of that, and I've been diagnosed with that for about 5 years. So because of that, I've made a conscious effort to communicate, especially at work, mainly via email or Teams.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, and I think that's helped me because if I'm being honest, I'm more confident in the way that I write as compared to the way that I speak.
Yeah, and do you find, right? So this is what I find, is that I find you're freer, you know, when you're able to type something. So I find I try and use as many big words as I can, because I'm like, these are words that I can't say. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use as many big words, or as many words as I can. And people must think, who does he think he is? But I'm just like, it's not because I'm trying to be clever. It's because I can't say these words. So when I get to type something, I'm going to type as many cool words as I can, because I can't bloody say them.
Yeah, do you know what? No, it's true. When I'm typing email or document or report, I'm going all out.
Yeah.
But when the person says, "Oh yeah, I'd like to meet to discuss the report," I'm like, "Oh shit." Oh, no.
I've said those words.
Right.
I've said those words, and now they're going to be like expecting me to say them.
Exactly. I'm just like, and like I'm not using any big words because I just can't. I just can't say it.
Oh, that's amazing. That's brilliant. Okay, that is brilliant. But again, it's amazing how people just like we you know, like, because I've never really like ever spoken to anyone else with a stammer. It's amazing how you do this similar things and how you think. And like yesterday was I think it was Stammer Awareness Day, right? So you just get like a day, right, where, you know, it seems to me like where there'll be lots of stuff out there and people will talk about it, and you know, you only ever see stammerers who are kind of, and I feel really bad in this, but who really have a really bad stammer, yeah, who can't actually really talk, right? And then you see them, and then they do this thing. Have you heard of the what's it called, the Maguire program? Right. Okay, so basically it's all to do with you breathe, and then you get a belt and you put it around your chest, and then you feel that belt, and then you kind of learn to talk. So they're just like, so you have to like talk like this, and then you take big breaths, right? And I'm just like, okay, cool, that's fine, but that's the sort of extremeness of it. Like they never portray a stammerer like, for example, you, right? And you know, who if I was to meet you, you could fool me, right? I'd never think that, you know, just by having a conversation now, right? I would never think that you have like a stammer. I'd never think that you'd have an issue. I think you were, you know, smart, you come across extremely well. So I'd never think that. And to me, the media never portrays stammering in the kind of everyday. They only just portray the most extreme kind of thing. So like, how do you feel about that? Because it, like, to me, it's just like we're never portrayed in film, in TV, you know, like, because we're not always going to stammer, but there are going to be times where we do, and it's all part of life, right? But we're never portrayed. Like, how do you feel the media portrays us? And we just get a day, right? So we just get a day where people speak about it, and then they basically forget about it then for the next year or so. Like, how do you feel about that?
I feel like the media, I think it is their job to show the most negative side of things. You know. So if I'm going to go totally off topic, if you don't mind.
Oh, please, yeah, go on, please.
Somewhat relate. So, for example, if they're showing, people in Africa, there's a lot of rich people living very well, beautiful houses, living beautiful lives. But if you watch the media, they'll show the young kids with flies in their eyes. It's like, no, this is not Africa. This is a small part of Africa. So I feel like the media, they want us to see certain sides, and I feel like all conditions, be it like autism, or there's varying levels. And to be honest, you also sound very fluid too, John, to be honest. I personally didn't think you had a stammer.
Thank you.
Had I have not known, but and I think this is it. I think you're right. We do need to showcase all forms of it, and just not those who are quite severe. And I think the reason why I probably haven't been so vocal is because even when I have mentioned it to maybe some friends, they'll kind of laugh at us, say, no, Natalie, you haven't got a stammer because I've heard you speak. But I do, and they're like, no, you don't. Because again, as you were saying, they portray a stammerer to be somebody, like the Gareth Gates.
Oh, yeah.
And it's like, well, no, I do. So I feel like you're right. I think people who are probably more fluid like you and I do need to come to the forefront and say, do you know what? We also have a stammer too.
Exactly. And I think it's up to people like us to make noise, right? To speak to amazing people like yourself, is basically the start of this. Is to get this content out there, to say, look, we have, there are so many people, and this is what, these are our experiences, and some people will stammer and it's quite obvious. Some people won't stammer. Some people may not even stammer for weeks, right? Yeah. But then something will happen, and I can't explain it, and people don't understand. You can't explain it. Something may happen, and it could be something really small, and it just twigs in your mind, right? And I don't know if you feel this way, but a stammer is something I think about every day, right? From the moment I wake up to the moment I go to bed, in some form, I always think about that.
Okay, that's interesting. So, I do think for me, I think the message that I want to get across is, we are not weird. We are, we're not gonna. Our life isn't impacted. I think, and it's almost, we're not saying it because we want all our friends and family to rally around us and give us a big hug and say, oh, you're gonna be okay, but just understand and just understand what we're going through. And I think one of the most frustrating things a lot of stammerers can relate to is, when we are having a conversation and we're struggling to get a word out, do not, under any circumstances, say the word for us, because we know what a bloody word is. We just need a moment. We just need a moment to try and get that word out. But we don't need people to speak for us, because we are more than capable of speaking for ourselves.
Exactly, and this is so. I've had an experience once where I was speaking to a person, and for whatever reason I stammered really, really badly, right? And the person, they turned around and they were just like, you're amazing, because I can't believe you finish that word and stuff. And I said, like, when I call you, when I say that I speak to these amazing people, it's not, I don't think you're amazing because you can talk. I think you're amazing because of what you've done and the things you've achieved and the message that you're trying to portray. Those are the amazing things. And for me, it's like, don't call me amazing because I can bloody talk, right? Please don't say that I'm amazing because I can speak and, no. If I'm good at something, it's because I want you to say I'm good because of my skill set. Don't applaud me because I can get a word out. Don't say that I'm great because I can speak. And that's the thing that people don't understand is that it's hard enough sometimes just to get some words out and have a conversation without thinking that somebody feels sorry. Don't feel badly for me whatsoever, because trust me, upstairs I'm sure you're exactly, we're smart, we're able to do every other thing. It's just sometimes trying to get the words out is a difficult thing. Other than that, you have nothing to feel sorry for.
Yes, honestly, that is all it is. We're very articulate. We can hold a conversation. There is no problem. So then, may I ask you, John? And I've got 2 questions for you, actually.
Okay, go on. Yeah, go on.
So the first one is, may I ask why you haven't told your employer that you have a stammer?
Yeah. So from my perspective, I've worked in the corporate world for a long time, and I always see it as a weakness, right? And not because I think people who stammer are weak. I think that the corporate world see any weakness, and they won't. The moment that they know that there's something wrong, then you may not necessarily get the same opportunities or the same experiences because you have a stammer. So if, for example, I've worked in law firms, and people who are able, and it doesn't matter, right? It doesn't matter. I've worked with some people who like the sound of their own voice. Okay, doesn't mean that their opinions are intelligent opinions, doesn't mean their opinions are right, but because they're fluid and because they talk with conviction, people buy into that, and people think that they're right. So from my perspective, it was I hid it because I didn't want to have a lack of opportunity because people thought that I was weak.
I was going to say, so it really is a bit of a shame that we are not able to do it because we think that it will hinder our opportunities and progress. Because it's crazy, but you know what? You are right. You are 100% right, because having a stammer doesn't it doesn't impact your work, your ability to do your job.
No, and I agree with that, and I think that am I being unfair? Because so for me, I think I am being unfair, and I don't think I am, because I hid it by hiding it, right? You're not giving people an opportunity to actually give their opinions on it, right? So if you hide something, how can somebody know what the issue is if they don't know what the issue is, right? So you can't say if they're going to behave in a particular way because they don't know, right? But just by listening to people at a workplace and just listening to the banter and listening to the kind of how people perceive the world, I don't think I am, because I know how people perceive other things. So because of the opinions that they form and they have by listening to how people react to other things in the world, I feel like, well, actually, why should I then expose myself and put myself through stuff when it was hard enough? And maybe at that point during the early phases of my career, I wasn't strong enough, because when you're in your 20s, I guess you care what people think, right? And now that I'm 40, I'm a dad. You know, I've had lots of experiences. Like, I'm like, do you know what? I don't care anymore. Why should I care what people think? You know, because I'm trying to be a strong dad to my girls, and I'm just like, you know, I want you to be strong women, and you know, like, but how can I get them to be strong if I'm not strong? So this is kind of now why I'm kind of just like, no, you know, we have to hit our issues straight on, and if people have an issue with it, then it's their problem.
I like that. That is true. So, with that said, John,
yeah,
are you going to go to your employer and say, "I'm John, I have a stammer"?
So this is something that I've already done. So as part of the whole thing. So to give you a kind of history on it. So the reason for the kind of like this whole thing is about 2-3 was it June time, I basically came to a point where, and I don't know why it happened, I was just like, I don't want to be here anymore. And I just I broke down, and I was just like, I can't, like, because of, I guess, all the years of trying to hide the stammer and fight the stammer, and you know, it takes a toll on you. I was just like, I don't want to be here anymore. And I got to that point where I was just like, I could like end it, right? And then I got to that point, and I sort of said to myself, no, that's not right. And then I basically just broke down completely. And then you know, like, I spoke to like the mental health team, I spoke to Mind, and then I was just like I now need to, you know, acknowledge this, and I need to stop battering myself because of what I think society has portrayed of people, and I need to stop hiding. And I was just like, the only way for me to do that is to kind of open up and kind of maybe give people experiences that I've had, and just open up about everything, and now start to promote this as part of the healing process. And part of that was to actually call up work and say, look guys, you know, I know you think I'm this person, but actually behind the scenes I'm actually not. I'm actually a different person. So I just kind of like opened up and said, you know, I'm me, you know, and I've got a stammer. So yeah, I
love, honestly, I love that. I think for many reasons you are very inspiring.
Thank you, I appreciate that. Thank you.
Yeah, and for me, you aren't John who has the stammer. You're John, and you're John who I'm assuming has overcome a lot in life. And for you to be so brave and even speak so vocally about how you felt at your lowest point in life, but you managed, but you're here talking to me now, it is inspirational. And I think that in itself is an inspiring story for your girls.
Thank you.
Honestly,
thank you, and that means a lot to me. But you know, it's now something I feel as if I have to do now, because I think for people like us, right, is that we have so much experience in terms of life, and like we stammer and other experiences that I think we have. I feel like I have to. This is something now that I have to do. So hence that's why there's a podcast, like the things that I do now to promote all this. And this is, you know, and it's part of, you know, the whole piece, right? So I'm trying to promote, you know, people that stammer and our stories, and you know, and it's time for us to give our experience.
It really just helps, because it's like-minded people with shared experiences coming together, because unless you have a stammer, you will not understand what it's like. And it doesn't matter like it does actually matter how severe your stammer is, because when I was more active in the stammering group, I met sometimes some people with severe stammers. So I think for me, I think having like-minded shared experiences really makes a difference. And I think just to understand the experiences of young people and children, because it must be extremely difficult extremely difficult for them, you know, because school, you know, kids are quite cruel. They can be quite cruel.
Yeah, they are, and I agree. I think you know, kids can be vicious, but it's not on purpose. You know, they're just trying to understand, I guess, the world. But you still have to support those children.
So yeah. So but I think another reason I haven't been so vocal is I remember I used to work with this guy and he had a stammer, but he didn't say it. But you know, you just know.
You know, yes.
Yeah, you just know. So I said to him, this only about a year and a half ago, I said to him, "Oh, you're quite vocal like when you go to interviews." He said, "No, don't ever tell people because they're going to think you're weak and nervous, and they won't give you the job, and you know they're going to think you're incompetent." And so then there was a period where I just kind of went and picked. Talking to you has been really, really helpful because I'm like, do you know what? I shouldn't, you know, it doesn't hide from me. It's a part of who I am. Same way, you know, because I'm extremely vocal about the vision that I have with my family. I'm very vocal about that because I feel like it's really vocal because my thing is, well, people can hear it when I speak. You know, people can hear my voice constantly has things to it. But then, why don't I apply that to a stammer? Because I'm here too. So yeah, that's the whole mindset I need to have. So I've just done some little self-counselling there.
I think you're brave anyway. I think the fact that you've come on here, and the fact that, you know, if it's okay still, you know, I'm gonna put this out to like the audience and I'm gonna let people know like who you are, and you know, it's a case of, you know, I think this for you could be the first step. You know, I think you've got nothing to be concerned about. I mean, you know, you come across extremely well. You know, you speak extremely well. Like, I fully understand. And what people don't get is that, you know, you come across great now, but you know, there could still be a time where, you know, behind the scenes, and I guess that's the bit that people don't get is, you know, I feel really comfortable speaking to you because you understand, right? When you talk to other people with the same thing and they have this shared experiences, you feel comfortable because you know that you could stammer now and like you know, like you're in a safe place, right? Because, you know, so I just feel like if there's, you know, for me, I'm at a point now where I feel like I need to tell people, and I no longer care what people perceive me to be, but you may not be there yet. And you know,
I love that for you, honestly. May I just ask, sorry to interrupt.
No, go on. No, please do.
So, do you consider your stammer as a disability?
No, I never have. I've always seen it as it's really weird, right? It's always part of me, right? So if I didn't do it, I think I'd miss it. It sounds really strange, but it's part of me, right? And I see it as an inconvenience, right? I don't see it. I think it's not okay. So a stammer's never stopped me from doing stuff. What's happened is that it's fear. Yeah. So it's stammering itself has never necessarily stopped me from doing stuff, because, you know, I've still achieved some stuff and I'm very proud of the things that I have in my life, and I feel very fortunate to have the things that I do have. I think that it's fear. I think it's fear about society and what society will think. I think maybe in the early days, you know, it definitely stopped me from doing stuff. But the reason why it did was because I was young and I had no experience, and I had no context, and I had no experience to say, is this a good thing or a bad thing? So I just had this fear of speaking. And then as you get older, you're then like, oh, actually, you know, I'm scared to do it. So it wasn't necessarily the stammer, it was the fear of society. What about yourself?
Oh, that's interesting. No, I don't class myself as having a disability. I maybe class it as a disorder.
Yeah.
Or condition. I don't know, but you're actually, you made a good point. I don't think I've ever really sat down and really tried to separate the two. I think I've just mixed it, and because I've mixed the fear and the stammer, it's made me dislike the stammer.
Yeah.
And the more I dislike the stammer, the more I stammer.
Exactly.
Yeah. So, but no, you're right. The stammer itself, and the thing is, I feel like it's not. I don't say it's not normal, but sometimes when I hear a lot of people speak who I wouldn't consider to have a stammer, they stammer. So I feel like it's not something that is weird or strange or like 1 in 500 people do it. I think at least 3 or 4 times a week I hear someone stammer. There could be friends, family, at work. So I feel that that's kind of helped me to relax a bit.
But you know what? You stammer, right? I stammer. We're different, right? And it is what it is. Like our brains and our speech and stuff, they do things in ways that other people don't, like, and like I just like embrace it now. I just embrace the fact that, do you know what? Who wants to be normal? Right? It's like, and like who is like normal these days? Like the fact that we have something is, I just think it makes us who we are, right? And the fact that, okay, we have like a stammer. Let me tell you, right, what people don't understand about it, right? Having a stammer is tiring, right? People do not understand the physicality of having a stammer, the mindset, the mental fortitude, the mental strength you've got to have a stammer, deal with all the setbacks. And this is why I'm so proud of everybody that has a stammer, because it's hard work. People do not understand it is bloody hard work. Constantly thinking and trying to get your voice out, it's such hard work.
Yeah, no, it really is. It's, talking, something that comes so easily to people. For us, it really is. There's different challenges and processes just to have a conversation. And I think for me is the double challenge of having issues with my vocal cords. So I've had the issue of needing to be heard, and also needing to be understood. And so that's definitely been a challenge.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Well, Natalie, thank you so much. Honestly, it's been amazing.